Hey, what's up, Push Kids? We're back for our next lecture in AP US History. Today we're going to be covering topic 9.5, Migration and Immigration to the United States. Our learning objective today is 9E, explain the causes and effects of domestic and international migration over time. Our first key idea says, after 1980, the political, economic, and cultural influence of the American South and West continued to increase as population shifted to those areas. Now, as we've talked about in period 8, the population shift to the South and West began during and immediately after World War II. Now, this is going to continue to accelerate after the war. We talked about how air conditioning made these areas much more pleasant to live in, as well as, for instance, the aerospace industry and the defense industry become really big in the South and West as well. Now, politically, the shift of populations away from the Rust Belt into the South and into the West have made these areas powerhouses in presidential elections. Today, the impact of the South and West have been felt. For instance, the 2000 and 2008 elections went to whomever won North Carolina and Florida. Huge, huge result. And this is a result of this movement South and the movement West. Now, there's also some huge economic implications. For instance, California in the West became home to the aerospace industry. And land is also part of that. We can see how Lockheed's impacted our local community. And the computer industry became heavily based not only in Texas, but also in Silicon Valley and California as well. Not only that, there's also social implications to this movement to the South and to the West. LA and Hollywood are going to drive much of the entertainment industry, though that's starting to shift to Atlanta as well, as we've seen in kind of recent years with the production of Hollywood movies here as well. And the Southern California accent has become kind of standard English. I mean, a lot of the, quote unquote, like surfer language, Valley Girl kind of language and cultures coming from California, from the South, from the West, and really impacting the rest of our country. This leads us then to key idea number 2. International migration from Latin America and Asia increased dramatically. The new immigrants affected U.S. culture in many ways and supplied the economy with an important labor force. Now, modern immigration is mostly from Latin America and Asia, and so let's first talk about Hispanic immigration. Now, there's about 16 million immigrants from Latin America and 9 million from Asia that come into the United States during this time period, between about 1980 and about 2010 or so. Now, for the most part, a lot of this is because of this 1965 immigration law that we talked about during the last time period, which eliminates the restrictions and quotas that were placed on both Asian and Latin American immigrants to the United States. Now, as a result of all this, Hispanics now outnumber African Americans as a percentage of the American population. They're the second largest population group behind whites, and they will eventually outnumber whites in the United States given current trends. And today, the majority are concentrated in California and in the Southwest, but they're increasing in population in different parts of the country. Now, for Asian immigrants to the United States, according to the 2010 census, they are now the fastest growing group of immigrants to the United States. Many of them are coming to coastal cities. We can see places in the map that's there. You can see where most of their immigration is going to, places on the West Coast to southern Central California, to the Northeast. But you can also see a sizable population going to large cities in Texas, to Atlanta, Chicago, even Detroit, are also seeing large groups of Asian immigrants that are coming to the United States. Now, they're coming from a lot of different Asian countries. For instance, Vietnamese that were escaping the Vietnam War arrived in the late 70s. We also are seeing a large number of not only Chinese, Koreans, and Filipinos are coming in more recent years to the United States in ever-increasing numbers. Now, these two groups have had some pretty important impacts, both socially and culturally on the United States. Probably the most obvious one, the ones that we see the most often, is in terms of food from those cultures. Asian and Latin American food are exploding in popularity. Tex-Mex, quote-unquote, Mexican food is such as tacos and burritos are becoming, a staple of the American diet. Asian food such as sushi is becoming incredibly popular within the United States. In addition to this, Latinos and Asians are also providing an important labor force, um, particularly in low-paying jobs such as in agricultural, garden, food preparation, service work, as well as custodial work. And they're also in many areas taking over some different sectors of the economy. Some, for instance, whether it's dry cleaning and laundry services, whether it's ownership of gas stations, things like that. We see immigrant groups oftentimes flocking towards one industry in terms of ownership becomes typical. Well, fairly short lecture today, which is always nice, but a couple big points once again. Understand that migration patterns to the United States are really changing. The internal migration patterns are to the south and to the west of the United States, which is having social, political, and economic implications. And immigration to the United States, especially from new areas, thanks to the 1965 Immigration Act, are having also profound implications for the United States, both economically and socially as well. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. And until next time, and as always, go Pack.